Hi everyone, today I want to show you some new colors that I bought. Recently I found out that a local art store here called Straits Commercial, they started selling Daniel Smith watercolor, and it happens that I am running out of some colors, more specifically phthalo green, so I decided to go down to the store to check out their selection, and a lot of colors were actually sold out. So I actually bought some colors that I have never used before just to try out instead of the usual colors that I usually buy. This is Monte Amiata Natural Sienna. Pigment code is PBR7. So this is a yellow which looks almost like yellow ochre or raw sienna. This is Organic Vermilion. Pigment code is PR188. Indanthrone blue, PB60. I wanted to buy phthalo green blue shade, but they were only selling phthalo green yellow shade. This is PG36. Let me squeeze out some of the colors. Today I'm going to paint some color swatches and show you the color wheel that you can create from this 3 primary colors, and also some mixtures that you can get from the green color. These are some boxes that I have drawn with pencil. I want to have these lines here so that when I apply watercolor over the lines I can see whether or not the colors are transparent. So this is Monte Amiata Natural Sienna, and this looks like it's quite transparent. There is some nice granulation with the sienna. And now let me use the red. This is Organic Vermilion. This is not as transparent. Next we have Indanthrone blue. So there is some nice granulation as well. And this looks like it's transparent. Phthalo green, yellow shade. So this is very bright, very vibrant. Definitely has slightly more yellow. It's slightly brighter compared to phthalo green blue shade. So these are the 4 colors that I bought. I think they are quite nice, and now let's try and mix a color wheel. Let's paint this color wheel with the 3 primary colors that we have. I'm going to start with the sienna, and I'm going to add a bit of red to the sienna. I'm sorry about the noise. There has been a lot of construction going on near my place. Let me add a bit more red to the sienna. So this is the Organic Vermilion. And let me add a bit of blue to the Vermilion. And a bit more blue to that. Indanthrone blue on its own. It definitely is darker compared to French ultramarine. For this color I'm going to add a bit of yellow to it, so I get some sort of dull green color. Let me add a bit more sienna. It's definitely not a very bright and cherry green. And now I'm going to mix the 3 primary colors together. Let me show you the green. Let's see what we can get when we add some red to it. So this is the type of green. With red added, it becomes darker. Let's add some sienna to the green to see what kind of color we can get. So this is sienna with phthalo green yellow shade. I get a brighter green, almost like sap green. This is quite nice, a yellow green. While you were not watching, I painted some additional swatches, New Gamboge, Quinacridone Red, and French Ultramarine, just to compare those colors with the new colors that I have. New Gamboge is a warm version of yellow. It's quite bright. I like to use this color to mix with a red to get a bright orange. So This is New Gamboge with Organic Vermilion. So this is the orange that I can get. Let's compare this orange to these two. So with Sienna, the orange is a bit more subdued, a bit more dull, not as saturated, not as bright or vibrant compared to this. And if you compare Sienna to New Gamboge, you can see that this is more vibrant. So this is Organic Vermilion compared to Quinacridone Red. A few years ago I bought a 15 ml tube because the tinting strength of this color is so strong. I just need to use a bit of color to get the intensity, which is why that tube has been able to last me for a few years. Now that I have Organic Vermilion, I can see that I actually do prefer this warmer version of the red. This is actually a bit cooler, almost like magenta towards the cooler side. So when we mix vermilion with Indanthrone blue, we get this purple, or I'm not sure what exactly the color is, but it's a very dull version of purple. And this is French ultramarine versus Indanthrone blue. You can see this is quite dark. As for the green, with Indanthrone blue and Sienna, we have very granulating greens, but this is not very bright. And the green is actually not that obvious. So this is quite subdued. When you mix a warm version of yellow with a warm version of blue, you get a green that is not very vibrant, it's not very bright. That's why in my palette I always have greens on their own. So in this case, this is phthalo green, yellow shade. On its own, it's like this. When you add red to it, it becomes darker. When you add a lot of phthalo green with red, you can get a dark shade of green. And some trees, they are really dark to the extent that some of the shadow areas are close to black. So if you use a lot of green and red, you can get those dark shades very easily with this mixture. When you add Sienna to the green, you get a granulating green like this. It's more of a yellow green, a brighter green. So if you need vegetation or trees that look a bit brighter, a bit more cheery, then this can be the mixture, Sienna with phthalo green. These are the colors that I can get when I mix the three primary colors together. So this has more blue and yellow. I added more red here. I added more blue here and more red here. If you want to take a closer look at this, I will put the scan on my website. By the way, this paper is the Daler Rowney Aquafine watercolor paper. I like to use this paper because the white is very white. It really makes the watercolor appear more vibrant. But this is student grade watercolor paper, so it's not very durable. But it's good for watercolor mixing and practice. Here's a quick sketch that I drew from a reference photo, and this is the reference photo that I found on Flickr. If you want to check this out, I will put the link in the video description below. Alright, so there are a lot of houses here and the roofs are red, orange and brown. The colors are not very bright, so it should be quite easy for me to recreate these colors with the color palette that I have. There's this structure right behind. It looks like it's mostly brownish. Some trees here which are very dark, so I'm going to use phthalo green and some red over there. The trees here, they are mostly without any leaves. I will probably change this up. I will use Sienna and phthalo green just to make this area a bit brighter. Let's paint over the sky with a very pale wash of Indanthrone blue. So I mixed some Sienna inside just to give it some variation, and I added some red here as well. And now let's paint the roofs. I'm using Sienna with some red. So I want to mix Sienna with some red. Now that I have painted the roofs, I'm going to paint the trees behind. So for the trees, I'm going to be using phthalo green. And for the trees here, I am going to use phthalo green with Sienna. So let me put some Sienna there first, followed by some phthalo green. This is almost dry, so now I'm going to mix the brown. I'm going to use a lot of Sienna and more red than blue to get the brown. And now let's paint the shadow areas. For the shadow areas, I'm going to use blue and red. So this is the completed sketch painted with the 4 new colors that I have just bought. I like the color palette. I like the reds, they are lovely. I like the granulating texture from the Sienna. This is good for painting roofs with a lot of texture. If you want dark areas, you can use Indanthrone blue to get those really darks. And for this area here, I actually used phthalo green mixed with a bit of red and a bit of Indanthrone blue to get this part here that is really dark. Here's a closer look. The sky is mixed with 3 primary colors. This is also mixed with 3 primary colors, but I add a bit more blue to get the darker brown tone here. It was quite fun to paint this sketch, and that's all for today's video. Maybe in the future I will explore other primary color sets and paint with them. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!